A Promised Land by Barack Obama. President Obama spent his childhood with his mother and grandparents in Hawaii. He was a mediocre student, and it wasn't until he was a little older that he began to express interest in big questions about inequality. He turned to books for answers, which sparked his interest in politics. He graduated from Columbia University and began working as a community organizer in Chicago, which cemented his interest in policy. He wanted to learn how to implement real change that would have an effect on real Americans, so he returned to school, earning his J.D. from Harvard Law School and becoming the first black president of the Harvard Law Review. Obama was elected to the Illinois State Senate twice, but his political career really took off following his landmark keynote address at the 2004 Democratic National Convention. Following the speech, many people urged Obama to run for president, and in 2007, he announced he would be entering the primary race. Obama became the Democratic nominee for president and faced Republican John McCain in the presidential election. Upon entering office, Obama had to address the 2008 global financial crisis, but was hindered by extreme partisan Republicans in Congress who refused to compromise and reach across the aisle. He encountered similar problems when he attempted to push through new health care legislation. Regardless, the Affordable Care Act passed, extending health care options for Americans. Obama tried to maintain a balance between steady authority and democratic ideals when it came to foreign policy. One of Obama's most famous foreign policy accomplishments was authorizing the Special Ops mission that killed Osama bin Laden. The early years. Born Barack Hussein Obama in Honolulu, Hawaii in 1961, the future president was raised by his mother and his maternal grandparents. As a young child, he didn't show any early signs of political ambition. Rather, he liked to party and play basketball, and he did not particularly excel in his studies. However, by high school, he had begun to wonder about some of the injustices that he saw in his everyday life. For example, he saw that many professional basketball players he watched on TV were black, but saw no black coaches. He also began to wonder why honest, hard-working Americans were still struggling to make ends meet. His grandparents did not have the answers to these questions, so he turned to books. Reading began to help expand his view of the world around him. In 1979, he began attending Occidental College in Los Angeles. He kept up his reading habit, although in college he admits the only reason he read complicated works of political theory, like those by Foucault and Marx, was to impress the ladies. While it didn't get him many dates, it did open up his eyes to politics. During his junior year, Obama transferred to Columbia University, where he became more politically active. In fact, many people said he became obsessed with politics, which made it difficult for him to make many friends, as most people thought he wasn't any fun. However, Obama wasn't concerned with making friends. He wanted to put his ideas into practice. After graduating from Columbia University in 1983, Obama began working as a community organizer in Chicago, working with communities that were harmed by recent steel plant closures. He credits this work with helping him understand the real-life problems people face. Meeting with the community also helped him come to terms with his own identity as a mixed-race black man. But however valuable the work was, Obama soon became frustrated with the slow pace of change. He was dissatisfied with the limitations of his role and wanted more power to shape policy and implement real, tangible change that would affect the community in positive ways. Therefore, he decided to apply to Harvard Law School to become a lawyer. In the fall of 1988, he enrolled in Harvard Law School, where he continued to spend his time reading and studying politics and civics. While in law school, he became the first black person to be elected as president of the Harvard Law Review. Shortly afterward, he was offered a book deal as well as several lucrative, high-status job offers. However, Obama decided to turn them down. The turning point. Following graduation, Obama accepted 2 jobs, one as a civil rights attorney and one teaching constitutional law at the University of Chicago Law School. While working as a summer associate at a law firm, he met a sharp and beautiful lawyer named Michelle Robinson. They began dating, and in 1992, the couple married. In 1997, Obama decided to turn his sights to elective politics and ran for Illinois State Senate. He won. Shortly after, in 1998, the couple had their first daughter, Malia. Obama won a second race for state senate, but that wasn't enough to satisfy his ambition. He decided to enter the race for the House of Representatives, despite the fact that the odds were stacked against him. The incumbent he was running against was popular, and even worse, his wife was not fully on board with the plan. Michelle wanted him to be able to spend more time at home with his growing family, but Obama decided to run anyway. He lost by 30 points, which caused him to stop and take a hard look at his life, and he didn't like what he saw. He felt that his arrogance had cost him politically, and he wasn't there for his family the way he wanted to be. However, rather than reject politics entirely, Obama decided to try a different tactic. He was still passionate about uniting Americans across political, racial, and socioeconomic backgrounds, but he didn't believe he could achieve these goals on a local level, so he decided to run for Senate. This time, he promised his wife that if he lost the race, he would leave politics for good. She agreed, and with her support, Obama entered the race. His first stroke of good luck was hiring a man named David Axelrod. A former journalist, Axelrod had shifted careers to become a political media consultant, and he was just what Obama needed to help him adjust his messaging. Axelrod focused on improving Obama's delivery and helped generate some early buzz for Obama online. Even before his candidacy was officially announced, a speech Obama gave opposing the Iraq War went viral on MySpace and other online blogs. His young campaign staffers helped him capitalize on this momentum and turn the buzz into real-life donations and volunteers. Obama and his campaign staff realized that his speeches had real power. He was able to effectively reach Americans, address their problems, and provide real hope for the future. Just before the election, he was offered the opportunity to give the keynote address at the 2004 Democratic National Convention. Obama worked hard on the speech, making nonstop notes on legal pads and thinking long and hard about the kind of lessons he'd been taught growing up and how he wanted to translate them to the country. Finally, he remembered a saying his pastor back in Chicago used to say, "The audacity of hope." The speech was a turning point in his career. He received national attention, and it was the last time he would walk into a room and be unrecognized. He also won his election by a landslide. The presidential primary. Following Obama's speech at the DNC, he became a recognizable figure. He was attracting attention whenever he went out into public, even when he was just attempting to do regular activities with his family, like take his daughter to the Lincoln Park Zoo. And many people were urging him to run for president. While he had his doubts at first, by 2006, running for president not only seemed possible, it seemed almost inevitable. The media continued to press him on the topic, and fellow politicians also began encouraging him to run. Harry Reid, a senator from Nevada, urged him to consider running, but Obama credited Senator Ted Kennedy with ultimately convincing him to run. Kennedy visited Obama and told him, "Moments like this are rare. You think you may not be ready, but you don't choose the time. The time chooses you." In February 2007, Obama announced his plans to run for president. He then immediately began campaigning in critical Iowa, and his campaign events drew thousands, which was practically unheard of. However, despite Obama's popularity, he still had quite a few drawbacks. He was young, inexperienced, and often came across as too academic and long-winded. His opponents used the media to deliver their message, while Obama tried to address each interviewer's specific questions. However, the Obama campaign had its own unique advantages. The first advantage was David Axelrod, who was leading the campaign. They also had a large number of grassroots donors, which contributed greatly to the campaign's fundraising efforts. The campaign also had droves of young volunteers who turned up in Iowa to offer their support. His clear popularity made other candidates nervous. Hillary Clinton, who had been a favorite to win the Democratic nomination, was particularly perturbed, and the two campaigns began warring. The tension between the Obama and Clinton campaigns built up until it finally culminated with the two candidates yelling at each other on a tarmac in Des Moines. However, despite the growing pressure, Obama won Iowa by 8 points. However, Obama lost the next primary race in New Hampshire. Obama now credits this loss by helping him understand just how difficult the race was going to be. Soon, the campaign faced more problems. Obama was on track to be the first black president, which caused many racial issues to surface. First, Obama had to deal with the aftermath of a sermon given by an old friend of his named Reverend Jeremiah Wright. In the service, Reverend Wright spoke about white supremacy and black inferiority, which raised issues with the black community. Some people thought Obama wasn't black enough to fully represent them, while other people were convinced America simply wasn't ready to have a black president at all. While Obama was receiving pressure from the black community, he was also dealing with right-wing attacks in the media, many of them race-based. Conservative news organizations like Fox began spreading rumors about Obama, including that he had once been a drug dealer and a homosexual prostitute. One segment described Michelle Obama, his wife of 15 years, as his baby mama. Despite the setbacks and attacks, Obama stayed the course. A historic number of black voters turned out for Obama in South Carolina, and he continued to win. But he wasn't just popular with the black community. People from all walks of life attended his speeches and rallies, cheering, crying, and some even asking to touch him or have him hold their children. These rallies were great for building up morale, but they also raised another potential problem. With so many different people's hopes and dreaming riding on him, he feared there was no way he could meet everyone's expectations. To make matters worse, around this time, the media had gotten wind of a compilation video of inflammatory remarks that had been made by Reverend Wright. The right-wing press seized on the video, and many voters who were uncomfortable voting for a black person used this video as justification. The campaign feared this may be the end. Obama decided the only way out of his predicament was to address racial issues directly. He composed a speech addressing not only Reverend Wright, but the many different narratives of race that were a part of his story. He touched on his white grandmother, who was related to him, but was still sometimes nervous passing black strangers. Most importantly, Obama wanted the speech to be truthful, and it paid off. Within 24 hours, a record 1 million people watched Obama's speech, and it soon became clear Obama would be the Democrats' nominee for president. The 2008 presidential campaign. After clinching the nomination, one of Obama's first tasks was to pick a running mate. Although Joe Biden wasn't Obama's immediate choice, it turned out to be an easy decision. The two men couldn't be more different. Biden was 19 years older and had spent his career in Congress. He wasn't necessarily cool, but he was warm, smart, compassionate, and cared about people, which were traits Obama valued. Initially, the Obama campaign was leading the polls against his opponent, the Republican nominee John McCain. But they were in for a surprise when he announced his running mate. McCain decided to run alongside Sarah Palin, the relatively unknown governor of Alaska, who lacked in-depth knowledge of the issues but had a small-town working-class demeanor that appealed to voters who identified with her. Palin's popularity was a symptom of a larger problem. Partisanship, political allegiances, and small but growing populist sentiment were beginning to creep into the Republican Party. Obama respected McCain, but was wary of the increasingly rightward, the extremist direction the party was taking. However, the worst problems were yet to come. In late 2007, large lenders of subprime mortgages began to declare bankruptcy, which adversely affected the markets and caused financial institutions to lose billions of dollars. By the spring of 2008, the country was in a recession, and by the fall, the country was in the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. McCain made the ill-advised decision to suspend his campaign in the final weeks to focus on solving the financial crisis, a move which ultimately proved to be the final nail in their coffin. Obama was emerging as the clear winner. On the day of the election, Obama passed the time playing basketball. He and his family watched the results come in at a hotel in downtown Chicago, and when it became clear that he would win, his mother-in-law couldn't believe it. Marion Robinson had never imagined she would see a black president in her lifetime, and as she watched the race get called for her son-in-law, she described it all as kind of too much. The fiscal crisis. From the moment Obama entered office, the most important priority on his desk was the financial crisis. By the winter of 2008, the stock market had decreased in value by 40%. 2.3 million homes had been foreclosed upon, and household wealth in the nation had dropped 5 times more than it had during the Great Depression. To deal with the stress, Obama began smoking up to 10 cigarettes a day. Obama's first act was to propose a fiscal stimulus bill, which was intended to jumpstart the economy while offering extended benefits like food stamps, unemployment insurance, tax cuts, and aid for state employers to Americans. Unfortunately, Obama was facing a hostile Congress. Middle-of-the-road bipartisan politics had been abandoned in favor of more extreme right-wing politicians led by Mitch McConnell, who refused to compromise with Democrats on anything. Mitch McConnell, the Republican Senate leader, was dull, rude, and unapologetically partisan. Although Obama strived to reach across the aisle, he was met with resistance. McConnell even pressured his caucus to not even speak to other staff members about the stimulus bill. His main goal was not to help suffering Americans, but to prevent Obama from accomplishing anything that would deem him a success. Following McConnell's lead, not a single Republican voted for Obama's Recovery Act. While it did pass thanks to the number of Democrats in the House, the immediate resistance to the bill set the tone for the Republicans' conduct for the rest of Obama's presidency. America only continued to become more politically divided. But America wasn't the only country affected by the fiscal crisis. The entire world was affected by the financial crisis, and as the 2009 G20 summit was approaching, the economy would be the main talking point. Prior to the London summit, Obama met with the Secretary of the Treasury, Tim Geithner. His goal was to convince the world leaders at the G20, including Russia and China, that the best way to solve the financial crisis was through fiscal stimulus. Obama would also be meeting world leaders he had never met before. He struck up a fast friendship with German Chancellor Angela Merkel, whom Obama described as a patient and methodical leader. Obama also met the French president Nicolas Sarkozy, who appeared to be Merkel's opposite. He was prone to emotional outbursts and wore lifts in his shoes. After the G20 finally struck a stimulus deal, Sarkozy struck up a chant of Geithner's name. The Affordable Care Act. With the financial crisis finally getting under control, Obama turned his attention to health care. Ted Kennedy, Obama's mentor, had gifted the Obama family a Portuguese water dog named Bo. Unfortunately, Kennedy had also been diagnosed with a late-stage brain tumor. He would only return to work in order to vote on one important issue: health care. By 2009, 43 million Americans were uninsured, and the cost of premiums had risen by 97%. The entire healthcare system needed to be revamped, and Obama believed the way to do it was by introducing universal health care. But Obama was worried about the political risks of such a monumental undertaking. Attempting to push healthcare legislation through a partisan Congress was risky, but Obama decided the benefit of potentially helping millions of Americans get health care was worth the risk. Making one of his last public appearances, Kennedy spoke with Obama at a press conference addressing the issue of health care. Once again, Obama was set on trying to shape a bill that could garner both Democrat and Republican support. But the Republicans opposed the Affordable Care Act immediately. Not only were Republicans not planning on voting for the bill, they market-tested around 40 advertisements that would make sure Republican voters were against health care reform too. They settled on the most successful phrase, describing Obama's new health care plan as a government takeover. The public galvanized around this issue, and in the summer of 2009, the right-wing Tea Party movement emerged. The conservative Tea Party movement magnified voters' fears around what they had nicknamed Obamacare. They used social media to extend their message and began spreading rumors about Obama. They became fixated on the rumor that Obama was an illegitimate president because he had really been born in Kenya. For his part, Obama decided to direct his focus on shoring up Democratic support. He organized a primetime address before a joint session of Congress, but was interrupted in the middle of his speech when a South Carolina congressman shouted, "You lie," at him. Despite all the opposition, the Affordable Care Act finally passed in the Senate on Christmas Eve of 2009, following a full 24-hour debate on the Senate floor, and just a few months later, it passed the House as well. Understandably, Obama was thrilled with his big win. He also decided that this was the time he would quit smoking, this time for good. However, he and his team couldn't rest just yet. The midterm elections were coming up, and they had managed to accomplish quite a few things with the Democrats controlling Congress and holding a supermajority in the Senate. However, the economy was still down, and many Americans were suffering financially. Americans were not feeling the benefits of the Obama presidency's accomplishments, and they expressed that fact with their votes. In the midterms, Democrats endured the worst loss a party had endured since the 1930s, losing 63 seats in the House and their Senate supermajority. Obama's foreign policy. Obama was not a radical. He was a reformist, and he brought those tendencies to his foreign policy decisions. The war in Afghanistan was a complicated situation where Obama chose to keep a steady hand. The Afghanistan government was corrupt, and the Taliban's presence in the country controlled the ordinary population. American troops' presence in the region was essential to maintaining order. Although Obama had initially wanted to be an anti-war president, he knew that pulling all troops out of the country would have catastrophic consequences. 1 year into Obama's presidency, the Joint Chiefs of Staff recommended deploying 17,000 more troops into Afghanistan to defend against the Taliban forces. Almost immediately after Obama authorized the deployment, the Joint Chiefs and the commander of U.S. forces in Afghanistan requested an additional 40,000 troops, on top of the 17,000 he had just deployed. Around the same time, Obama was shocked to learn that he would be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. He felt conflicted at the fact that he would be receiving the prize at the same time he was sending thousands more Americans to war. Not long after, in 2010, thousands of demonstrators began protesting in Tahrir Square in Egypt, demanding the removal of their leader, Hosni Mubarak. While Obama had idealistic support for democratic reform, the United States also benefited from Egypt's stability in the region. Although Mubarak was a dictator, he had kept Egypt stable, and an Islamist organization known as the Muslim Brotherhood was the most powerful political group in the country. They would be waiting to take over the power vacuum Mubarak would leave behind, which would be bad for U.S.-Middle East relations. However, despite the risks, Obama decided to speak out in support of the protests and asked Mubarak on a private phone call to resign. When he did not, Obama then called on Mubarak publicly to step down. Mubarak did finally step down, which marked the end of an era in the Middle East. The hunt for Osama bin Laden ends. Osama bin Laden, the terrorist who orchestrated the 9/11 attacks, had been in hiding since December of 2001. Obama wanted to make the hunt for bin Laden his top priority once he took office. In 2010, CIA analysts finally turned up intelligence on a man, nicknamed the Pacer, who was living on a compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. The Pacer had a number of similarities to bin Laden. He was well over 6 feet tall and had the same number of wives and children as bin Laden. He also burned his trash and never left the compound, only walked in circles around the garden inside the compound. The CIA judged there was a 60 to 80% chance the Pacer was Osama bin Laden. The decision of how to proceed was left with Obama. Secrecy was of the utmost importance. If any information leaked out about their plan, bin Laden would get wind that the Americans were onto him and disappear again. Obama didn't want to make any sudden moves that would lead to mission failure before it even began. After 2 years, Obama authorized a special ops mission. The plan was for a specialized team of Navy SEALs to secretly enter Pakistan from Afghanistan via helicopter, raid the compound, kill bin Laden, and escape before the Pakistani authorities even knew they were there. On the day of the raid, tension was at an all-time high. Obama was unable to concentrate on anything else, so he passed time playing cards with his staff until night fell in Pakistan. When it was time, he and his team watched the military action live from a small room. The whole mission lasted only 20 minutes, but to Obama, they were excruciating. Then, they got news that the mission was a success. Osama bin Laden had been killed. When word got out that bin Laden was dead, crowds began to gather and cheer outside the White House, chanting, "USA! USA!" Just like Obama's election, this was a historic moment, and people were celebrating a historic victory. Obama noted it was the first time in his presidency that he didn't feel that he had to sell his accomplishments. He congratulated the successful SEAL team and as he walked back to the White House, he felt a sense of relief. While there were many more hard battles to fight, including battling McConnell in Congress and upcoming tough re-election, he knew that he could breathe easier for at least one night. The main takeaway. President Obama grew up in Hawaii and didn't begin to express real interest in politics until college. He worked as a community organizer before attending Harvard Law School. After graduation, he was elected to the Illinois State Senate twice. He was selected to give the keynote address at the 2004 Democratic National Convention, which garnered him national attention and led many people to urge him to run for president. Obama entered the 2008 presidential election against Republican nominee John McCain and his running mate Sarah Palin. He won the election, but faced extremely partisan Republicans in Congress who tried to block his bills. Regardless, Obama worked to pass the Recovery Act to help solve the 2008 financial crisis and the Affordable Care Act. When it came to foreign policy, Obama maintained a steady American presence in the Middle East and tried to balance the need for stability with democratic ideals.
Hi, I'm Rhonda, and this is an exclusive audiobook video recorded for the Audiobook Master Channel. Enjoy your audiobook and have fun learning. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button so you'll get updated on our next upload. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up and say your thoughts about the book we just covered. Do you want to listen to a summary or review of a book that we haven't covered in the past? Say it in the comments below or send us a message. Don't forget to check our other uploads. Enjoy listening!